Are you ready? Stand by.
Welcome to the 3 Gun Show, brought to you by Armalite. This is episode 126, and I'm your host, Dave Hartman. And my guests this week are the crew from Criterion Barrels, owner Steve Dahlke, marketing director Josh Biggie, and their shooters, Tom Stewart, Paige Hansen, and Nikki and Heath Clevenger. But before we get into the interview, I want to tell you a couple cool things we're working on here at the 3 Gun Show. One, I have a special offer for you on Armalite gear, and you'll hear it after the interview. Second is the 3 Gun Show book club. I'm reading Brian Enos's classic book, Practical Shooting Beyond Fundamentals with some pals. Nick Miller, Bill Corcoran, and I are going to record a podcast about it on May 5th, and that will drop on May 10th. Now, fun thing here, we are going to record the podcast and also live stream it on YouTube Friday, May 5th. So I encourage you to pick up a copy, which you can do at 3gunshow.com/Enos, E-N-O-S. Read it and join the discussion with us on Cinco de Mayo. And go ahead and subscribe to the YouTube channel just to get those notifications. So in this podcast, we cover the difference between cut rifling and button rifling, how to get the best performance out of your gun by choosing good ammo, and how to outfit your classic gun with Criterion Barrels to give it new life. So enjoy this one with Josh and Steve from Criterion Barrels. All right, welcome back to the 3 Gun Show, the SHOT Show 2017, and we're, of course, hanging out next to the Criterion booth, trying to get away from the pump and rap music that you guys have been listening to.
Yeah, they got the bass rolling.
Yeah, and with me is Steve Dahlke and Josh Biggie of Criterion Barrels. Guys, welcome to the show.
Hey, how's it going?
Thank you. I'm excited to have you guys here because I know that a lot of the manufacturers that we see on the range shooting 3-gun have Criterion Barrels in their rifles. And so that's how I first got introduced to you. And then my friend Becky Ackley was like, hey, I know these guys. You can come talk to them, find out about their barrels and stuff like that. So I'm excited to have you guys here and chat with me on the podcast about it. So,
well, thanks for having us. Appreciate it.
My pleasure. My pleasure. Steve, you have been Josh told me that you've been in this business for like 20, 25 years, something like that?
Yeah, a little longer than that.
Longer
than that, actually, yeah.
Okay.
It was 1982 when Krieger started making barrels, and I worked for him at the time.
Oh, okay.
And then, it kind of grew from there. Initially, we were kind of like a job shop, machine shop. We did any kind of contract work. But John was a shooter and a machinist, and he started making barrels in 82. So, and the business kind of grew from there. And more and more barrels, we're getting more and more work. And then we finally, I think we let our last contract customer go like 93, something like that. And after that, it was all barrels.
Really? Mm-hmm. Wow, that's incredible to make that jump from just doing like general machine work to like specification in one line like that.
Yeah, exactly. And that was Krieger barrels. That was a cut rifled barrel. We started Criterion barrels in 1999. That's a button rifle product, so it's two different things.
Okay, so for me, like the layperson, I've heard those two terms before, but I don't know what they mean. Mm-hmm. What is the difference between them, and why does Criterion use one process over the other?
Well, cut rifling is a very labor-intensive, long process, so it tends to be a more expensive barrel.
Oh, okay.
Button rifling is faster, so you can get a little lower cost.
I gotcha.
They both can make good barrels if they're done correctly. You got to have the right processes, the right order of processes. Hand lapping is the biggest thing as far as I'm concerned. So that's the difference between the two.
Okay. So button rifling then allows you to create like a larger volume in a shorter amount of time, allows you to supply those barrels to OEMs and, provide a lower cost to your customer.
Exactly.
And now accuracy, though, everyone I've ever talked to that has a Criterion barrel says the accuracy is certainly there. So how do you guys maintain the accuracy while also producing the volume?
Well, it's like I say, it's the operations and order of operations and paying attention to detail mostly.
And the quality control measures that go along with it.
Exactly.
Okay. And when you say hand lapping, what part is hand lapped on the barrel?
The interior surface, the rifling.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
And so that's like a polishing sort of process?
Exactly.
Okay. When you guys started Criterion, how did exactly that happen? Just like, oh, we're gonna go start a barrel manufacturer. We're gonna invest like a ton of money in heavy equipment and everything, or was it bootstrapped
there was always customers that desired a little lower cost product, and the only way to accomplish that was through buttoning. So,
higher
we
volumes,
decided, set up a separate production line for that.
And so was it like how was it done? What were the early days like? Did you ever wonder where your next customers come from, or did you just open your doors with all the barrels you could sell?
We actually started it for Weatherby. Weatherby wanted a barrel maker and they wanted a button rifled product.
Oh, okay.
And we had work with them beforehand, and so that's why we started the company. From that we grew the military rifles, M1 Garand barrels,
so
and
the CMP.
CMP. More recently, the AR-10s, AR-15s.
Got it. So you started out for Weatherby, and you leveraged that contract into reinvesting back in the business, creating different product lines, and now you have a significant product line, 3 different categories.
Oh yeah,
right?
Yeah. We've got the Criterion custom lineup, which is our pre-fit barrels that can be ordered with different chamber options, lengths, contours. Barrel blanks we're getting into quite a bit as well. I think we'll be seeing some announcements there in the near future. And a lot of OEM work on that front too. So basically, if somebody approaches us with a job of 25 or more pieces, we can pretty much configure a barrel to their specifications. So that's the custom lineup. The classics, that's kind of our vintage military rifle barrels that we were talking about earlier. M1 Garands, 1903s, M1 carbines, and we do some M14 work as well. Really across the gamut, and we're even getting into foreign platforms like the Lee Enfield and that kind of stuff as well.
Okay.
And then the tactical, which is a little more, I guess, with this subcategory that we're looking at with 3-gun and all that. So that'd be a black rifles, 308 ARs, AR-15s, working with a couple different calibers and a whole bunch of different stock model options there as well.
Yeah,
right.
many different variations available, different lengths, gas system lengths, nitrided, chrome lined, stainless.
Yeah, I get calls all the time. People are asking, "What's the best barrel model?" I'm like, "Well, you got to tell me what you're doing with it." It'll vary between shooters. Everybody likes different lengths, contours, weights. But really, the sky's the limit when it comes to configuring those black rifles. It's pretty neat.
So I'll echo that as well, because I've been on your site a number of times, and I've seen all the different barrel options for a guy like me who likes to put rifles together.
Oh, sure.
And I've been kind of overwhelmed of well, which one is the best? Just like you say, which one is the number one that I choose? For me, I like a longer gas length for lower recoil impulse, and that kind of puts me into an 18-inch barrel with a rifle length gas system. One of the cool things that you showed me here in the booth, and that I've seen on your site as well, is a 16-inch barrel with a rifle length gas system, which is pretty unique to Criterion. Now, do you kind of push people that way if they're shooting 3-gun to keep it sort of lighter, lower recoil impulse, or how does that exploration process look when people are looking for that perfect barrel?
Well, I mean, it really depends on the person. So some people will approach me and say, here's the list of requirements I have for a configuration. What's the best option in that regard? Some people are just wondering what certain other people are using. So if they're looking at the most popular configurations, I'll say it's a 16-inch hybrid contour mid-length gas system. That's kind of our biggest seller, I guess, in that department. That and the 18-inch rifle.
18-inch rifle, yeah.
Those two are the
those
real.
are pretty much the two standbys for 3-gun for sure.
Absolutely. But some people will say, hey, I need something a little lighter. Maybe I'm going to be carrying this rifle in the field, or I'm going to have it, lugging it around the mountains. I need something lighter. Or other guys will say, hey, I'm taking it out varmint hunting, and I'm going to be sending a couple hundred rounds downrange in an afternoon, and I need something that can kind of heat up with that and still maintain a solid point of impact.
Okay. Yeah, so there really is a barrel contour and a fit for every single occasion.
Yep, for every application, yeah. Some of these guys, some of the the longer range shooters, 300, 600 yards, they get into the 308, the longer barrels, things like that.
Yeah, and then the 6.5 Creedmoor when they're going past that too.
Exactly.
Yeah, so let's talk about that for a minute. I'm glad you brought that up, because 6.5 Creedmoor is something for me that I became aware of 2 years ago, because it seems everyone that's shooting distance now is moving to a 6.5 platform. And of course I'm overgeneralizing here, but it's a super popular caliber right now. So why do you think that is? And then what are kind of the options you guys have in the 6.5 area?
I think it's because they made improvements over the 260 just by shortening the case a little bit. It left a lot more room for bullet and still be at magazine length.
Okay.
So I think
that still fits in those 308 mags, right?
Exactly.
Okay.
And it becomes difficult with a 260 because the case is a little bit too long to fit the longer, heavier, low BC bullets.
Right. So the 6.5 Creedmoor is kind of getting into super long range matches. We never use that in 3-gun, but there's been a lot of crossover with guys shooting gas gun matches, and there's a new gas gun series coming out this year
PRS,
for PRS, and I see a lot of 3-gunners getting excited into that because we've been shooting a lot farther and farther distances in 3-gun matches with our 223s, and these guys want to see what they can do, and they don't have to deal with the huge bullet drop and all the wind and everything.
Yeah, so, super ballistics.
So what kind of product offerings do you have that fit that sort of niche in the 6.5 Creedmoor for like a gas gun match?
Well, we have 18 and 22-inch barrels, again, stainless.
Yeah, 416R.
Yeah, 416R and nitrated.
Yeah, we'll be
I don't know that we offer a chrome line yet, do we?
Not at the moment, no.
Not at the moment, yeah, but those two versions.
Mm-hmm. And so if a guy's like just getting into this and doesn't know what they're looking for, 18-inch or 22-inch?
Depends on the range.
Yep, that's
Depends on the range?
Yep.
Okay. So if you're shooting like longer distances, it's 22-inch?
Yep.
And
Yep.
Okay.
Bump your velocity up just a little bit.
So do you have like a yardage that you would say this would be appropriate for 18? Or
it depends on the load.
Oh,
so
okay.
It depends on the load and where you're shooting. I mean, a lot of guys, like out by us here in Wisconsin, we can reach out to intermediate and almost long range. So it's a challenge to find a range that'll go out to 1,000 yards.
Yeah, you got a lot of trees.
And if you're going out to 1,000 yards, I mean, you're good to go with the 18-incher. But if you really want to stretch that cartridge to its limits, then the 22 will help bump it out a little bit.
Okay,
further.
so over 1,000, kind of the marker there.
Yeah.
You say go to that 22-inch.
Yeah, it depends on the load, too. I mean, if you look up the load data, run it through a calculator, and then I can tell you exactly where it'll peter out.
Oh,
and
okay.
Where it goes transonic.
So you recommend people select their ammunition first and then pick a barrel based on
have
that?
an idea of what they want to do. So
Okay.
if they say, I want to run a 140 grain bullet, and I'll say, okay, here's what we're looking at with this, that, and the other. And sometimes different barrels will like different loads. So it's always nice if you're hand loading to try a selection of different bullets during that load development, figure out what that barrel likes.
Mm-hmm. So, Steve, one of the things that we were talking about earlier was the differences between like a stainless barrel and a chrome line barrel. And you guys offer both of them. And I've been told by a lot of your shooters that you're getting a lot of accuracy out of both of them. So if I'm looking at one versus the other as, like, say, a 3-gun shooter, how do I decide which one I want to go with?
Well, I think primarily they make the choice off of aesthetics. Do they want a bright barrel or do they want a black barrel?
Okay.
That's for starters. In my opinion, the chrome lining and the nitriding are similar. They clean. They absolutely won't foul. They clean very similarly. They both got a little bit of a hard surface to them.
Mm-hmm.
Stainless is a little, it's going to be, I don't know, one of those things where you want to get that rifle clean within a few days after a match or whatever, after shooting it, to get whatever copper or powder out of it so that it doesn't pit underneath. So you want to get that clean. I don't think you have to worry about that so much with chrome lining or the nitriding.
So all I've ever heard is stainless for accuracy, chrome line for longevity. Now, is that like an antiquated thought? Like, did it used to be that was the case, and our modern manufacturing processes are better now?
In my mind, it is. Yeah,
Really?
I think our chrome line barrels shoot every bit as good as any other barrel. They are hand lapped, which I think is uncommon for a chrome line barrel. I mean, they're hand lapped before they get chromed, and there's a couple of I would call proprietary things that we do to maintain the bore uniformity throughout the chroming process.
Mm-hmm.
And then there's a couple of proprietary things that my chroming guy does that, again, to maintain the accuracy. He's a shooter. He knows what to look for and what to do.
That's important.
They perform very, very well. I have not seen a actual decrease in accuracy off of them.
I mean, I've got one of the Saltbath nitrided 416R barrels, and then I got one of the chrome line models. That's at 16-inch mid-length, the hybrid contour, and identical performance between the two.
Yeah.
I mean,
Really?
no difference as far as I've been able to see.
Yeah, it's fantastic. It's just like like we said, a testament to modern manufacturing and a care in what the end user's product is like. Details. Yeah.
the black arts of barrel making.
So let's talk about the black arts. What's like the environment like at Criterion? It seems like you have like a pretty good emphasis on accuracy, and you know that everything that goes out the door has your name attached to it. So how do you instill that sort of company culture around caring about those details?
I don't know. That's a good question. I think you just have to set an example of what you're looking for and what you want. I mean, we've got some super, super young people like Josh, super, super great people in the shop that, every day they're just concerned about getting it done right.
That's great.
Yeah, it's very, very good.
Always improving.
Yep.
Always.
Awesome. So speaking of always improving, what's like on the horizon? What are some maybe some new stuff from Criterion that we can look at over the next couple of years?
Barrel
Is
blanks.
everything in the works? Barrel blanks. So
Yeah.
what are barrel blanks? Obviously, I'm guessing is not a finished barrel, but what does that mean for like the consumer?
So it's essentially a barrel blank is a semi-finished barrel. All the inside work is done on the rifling,
Okay.
but it hasn't been chambered, threaded,
Okay.
crowned, and there's a lot of people that swear by sending a barrel blank into a custom rifle builder and then having it built on the spot. I mean, I think we've disproved that notion that it's required with our pre-fit line. I mean, we've set a number of world records with those barrels,
Huh.
but a lot of people are still in that mindset where, hey, I need to get a blank, send it into this custom shop, have it built up. And we haven't really competed in that market. But that's PRS, Bench Rest, F-Class. A lot of those guys are in that mindset.
Gotcha. That's kind of the culture for their
Correct.
game. Okay.
So we're going to be hitting the ground running on that fairly shortly and offering a pretty wide configuration of blanks. So.
Yeah, as time and production allows.
yeah, I would imagine.
Yeah.
So for guys like me, like I mentioned earlier, I love building AR-15s. I've got a whole bunch of them that are constantly in the works, and probably 3 or 4 more laying around that I don't know, just in parts, right? So if you mentioned matching chambers and everything, so should I be concerned about like head spacing of a bolt or things like that? 'Cause
Oh, absolutely. Yeah.
Okay, so how does that work on like an AR-15 platform?
So when you're measuring headspace, you're really looking at the distance from the base of the case where the bolt face is to the shoulder of the cartridge. I mean, unless you're working with a rimmed cartridge, then it's totally different. But in that regard, you're always going to want to check that. Generally, it's not so much an issue with AR-15s because everybody has that mil-spec guideline to go with. But when you're working with different platforms or if you're working with 308 ARs, there's a pretty wide variance in dimensions between some barrel manufacturers, some bolt manufacturers, and we try to keep the specifications as universal as possible by working with a core group, and then here's the specs and here's our barrel specs. Let's keep everything mated up. But it's hard when everybody's kind of all over the place in that regard.
There's three features that dictate the headspace on a rifle. It's the depth of the chamber, the barrel extension, and the bolt. We can control two out of three.
Right.
We cannot control the bolt if we don't have the bolt when we manufacture the barrel or the bolt to check it before it goes out the door. I think the responsibility's got to fall on the guy who's going to assemble it to make sure that everything is proper.
Unless, of course, they want to order a headspace bolt from us, and we do keep a number of BCM bolts
do?
in inventory.
Right.
And for the 308s, too, I think we have JP and Fulton Armory bolts.
Yeah. I mean, would you consider replacing the bolt in your Remington 700 without checking the headspace?
No,
Yeah.
no, I would not.
Same thing.
Okay. All right. Yes, for some odd reason for me, like when I hear mil-spec, I see mil-spec over here and I see mil-spec over here. I figure, it probably goes together.
That's the plan.
Yeah, well, exactly. But we know how manufacturing tolerances and everything like that
Yep.
sometimes stack up, and then you end up with something that doesn't quite
Always
work.
got to keep an eye on it.
Yeah, exactly. So, guys, we're running out of time here. We've got to move on to our next folks, and I won't take you up because I see a lot of people hanging around by your booth. But last, I want to ask, where can people find your barrels if they're looking for them?
Well, if they go on our website, CriterionBarrels.com, we'll have a whole list of different models and distributors for each one of those models listed there. I mean, for the ARs, we've got Brownells, MSR Arms, Midwest Industries, American Defense Manufacturing. No, I'm missing folks here. I mean, there's so many. Little Crow Gun Works. The list just goes on and on. I mean, Fulton Armory.
Tactical Innovations.
Terran Tactical, he's got his own barrel model that he runs. So,
cool.
Give any of those guys a call. Check out the website. That'll have everything listed there. Or give me a call. I mean, that's one thing that we like doing is helping people with build projects and kind of offering advice and guidance along the way. So.
Cool. Well, and your phone number's on the website. That's where I found it when I gave you a call.
Yep.
Gentlemen, thank you so much for your time and for being on the show today and for taking out your time out to show me your great products and have fun at the show here. And we'll be talking to you soon.
Thank you, Dave.
Yeah, thanks for
guys.
swinging by.
Next up are shooters Tom Stewart and Paige Hansen.
You ready?
All right, welcome back to the Three Gun Show. We're at SHOT Show 2017 in the Criterion Barrels booth, and I'm here with Josh from Criterion.
Hey, how's it going?
Paige from American Defense Manufacturing and Tom from American Defense Manufacturing. And we are talking about the hottest thing in pretty much all of competition shooting sports right now, which is PCC. And I'm holding this rifle here, and it is super, super light. A lot of stuff hanging off of it, but it's got one of your 8.5 inch, is that right?
It does,
Criterion
That
barrels.
was an 8.5 inch.
And this is a
PCC
9mm
barrel.
caliber.
Correct. And this is actually a rifle designed by Precision Firearms.
Okay.
So they actually take Criterion blanks and they turn them down and finish them for custom one-off builds. We usually recommend it if somebody's looking for something kind of unique. But we do run PCC barrels for a number of OEM suppliers, including American Defense Manufacturing and a few others.
Okay, great. So what is it about your barrel that has like all these OEMs selecting it for use in their rifles?
Well, it's actually, we strike a really good balance between the custom, really high-end barrel manufacturers, your Bartleins, your Kriegers out there, where you'll get quality on par with that, but you'll get it at a much lower price point due to our method of production. Generally, we run the barrels in batches of 25, 50 pieces, carry out the same quality control measures, but the setup tooling time is a lot shorter because we're running them in larger batches. So
Okay.
that's kind of where we're
And so your barrels here, the thing that I've seen a lot of people being kind of into is like, I'm going to get a lower from here, I'm going to get an upper from here, I'm not going to put together my whole rifle. Can we buy this off like the Criterion website?
Oh, sure, absolutely. Well, you'll actually be able to buy them through American Defense Manufacturing.
Okay.
They have them on their page.
Great. Now, so we've got 8.5 inch. What other lengths do you offer in the?
We're going to be running them in a 16 inch
16
as well.
inch. Okay.
So
that'll be good for PCC division.
correct. Yeah, those are going to be the two initial models, and then we'll probably add more in the future.
Okay, great. And Tom, you've been shooting some PCC this year, right?
Yes, we have. In American Defense, we just came out with one of our ambidextrous 9mm AR platforms for the PCC. With 3-Gun Nation bringing PCC into their realm for 3-gun last year, and then this year with USPSA, it's bringing a lot more people into the shooting of the AR platform and giving them a lot more ability to be able to do that, especially in the northern environment where we live, of being able to continue practicing with a rifle platform over the winter.
Yeah, because you guys are doing like a lot of indoor matches right now, right?
Yeah, it's a lot of fun. I mean, it's bringing a lot of people in there that before were just shooting the pistol and love the action shooting sports, but were afraid of the shotgun to go full bore into the 3-gun. Now they can get a PCC and go out and shoot their normal USPSA matches, and a lot of clubs are even going to let you shoot 2 divisions during the same match. It's twice the shooting in one day.
That's cool. So PCC you can actually do like Steel Challenge too.
Correct.
Yeah, so it's like pretty much the all-around any game you want to shoot type of match.
Yeah, we'll always get a lot more practice.
Awesome. So Paige, have you been shooting any PCC this year?
Yeah, so I'm actually a new shooter, and so the barrels are, great, lightweight, accurate. So it's definitely helping me out.
So shooting 9mm as opposed to shooting like a full rifle caliber has to be kind of good for a new shooter, right?
Absolutely,
So you're not
definitely
afraid
good
of
practice. Helping out with the off season, so very, very good.
A lot cheaper to feed, too.
Yeah, no kidding.
Comes in handy.
Easier to convince yourself to spend money
for
on the
sure.
9mm versus the 5.56.
Absolutely.
Well, that's great. So Criterion barrels, check them out. And what's your website? Social media?
www.criterionbarrels.com. We're on Facebook and Instagram, and got a YouTube channel in development as well. So feel free to check us out.
Awesome. 2017 SHOT Show with the 3-Gun Show here.
And finally, we have Team Clevenger's Nikki and Heath.
All right, we're back at SHOT Show 2017 with the 3-Gun Show here in the Criterion Barrels booth, and we've got Josh again, and we have some new guests, the Clevengers, Nikki and Heath.
How's it going?
All right, and we are talking about rifle barrels. We just talked about some PCC stuff, but we got a lot of purists in the 3-Gun Show audience, and there's a lot of people that won't touch PCC, so let's talk about your rifle barrel line. Now you guys both shoot 223, right?
Correct.
You haven't dabbled in the heavy yet.
Yes.
Nikki, I know that you've been killing it with some long range lately, and the barrel has had a lot to do with your game. So which one did you end up settling with?
So last season I worked a lot with the chrome line barrel and I really liked it. And then my parts manager Heath mid-season switched it from chrome line to stainless. And I thought I'd see a really big difference, but I haven't. The actual difference between the chrome line and the stainless is almost unnoticeable in the long range game for me personally. So he does these little switches, doesn't tell me anything about it, but I put the dot on the target and I've been hitting it ever since. So, and I believe 100% that's because of the barrel. Because I don't know all the technical windage, anything like that. So I know the barrel's helping me way more than I'm helping myself.
Well, that's very cool. So Heath, you made those switches kind of doing some testing around.
I did.
Why did you make those changes?
I just wanted to check it out because you always hear stainless is better. It's more accurate.
Right.
So Josh told me it really wasn't any difference, but you always got to find out for yourself, especially when you're a little hard. When you're a little hard-headed like me.
Well,
so,
especially with us being gun guys, we're like,
right. I got to try.
Tell me what
got to
shit.
try.
Yeah, exactly. There you go.
So we started out with the chrome line, shot great. Literally easy under MOA with quality ammo. Doesn't matter what you pick. And so we got some new guns. I'm like, well, let's try. the stainless barrel, and we can measure some direct comparisons. And it really is no noticeable difference. I mean, I've tested at 100 yards and 200 yards and measuring groups with the same ammo. The only difference is one's a chrome barrel and one's a stainless barrel.
And those are both Criterion barrels?
Both Criterion barrels.
Sweet. That's pretty cool. So, Heath, you know, and a lot of times when we go to matches, you know, you've got all these guns to account for, all your ammunition and everything, and you've got two to manage. What do you do, like, for water and food and stuff like that when you're on the range?
Well, you know, I have this wonderful lady that keeps me going with those proper snacks and nutrition. Keeps me going. Water, Gatorades. You know, I carry all the heavy stuff. I load the truck.
Brings the snacks.
She brings the snacks. That's
awesome.
It keeps me from getting hangry while we're shooting. You know what I mean? So it works out good.
That's a good partnership to have. So Josh, you gave me this rifle beforehand, and took the handguard off, which is really cool. And I noticed that the gas block is really far forward on this barrel. Mm-hmm. So this is a 16-inch barrel, and this looks like a rifle-length gas. Is that right?
Absolutely.
Why would you want a rifle-length gas in a 16-inch barrel? And why do you guys make that? Like, I don't see that from a lot of other people.
Well, it's really a softer recoil impulse, and a lot of guys who are running dissipator-style builds, that's kind of the ticket for them. Mm-hmm. Generally, 16-inch rifle length, it's got a bit of a stigma behind it, and like, you know, Heath had to do that myth-busting with the chrome line barrels. We can do that with this one as well, because basically what we do anytime we develop a new barrel model is we do extensive testing to see what gas port diameter, what chamber dimensions matches up best with a certain rifle barrel length and the gas system length. So we get it all matched and fine-tuned.
So you don't have one chamber that goes all the way across all your
we have a couple different options, and it'll depend on the model. Generally, the 223 Wild is our most popular configuration, but there are a few other ones that will run on specialty builds. Or for OEM clients, too. We'll get different guys who order different chamber dimensions.
Cool. So you were telling me that there's something to do with dwell time.
Correct.
What does that mean, and how is that beneficial on this?
So dwell time really pertains to the amount of time that the gas is in the bore past the gas block here. And it'll vary depending on your gas length and your barrel length and whatnot. And then there's also lock time, which is basically how long the bolt is in battery before it starts cycling rearward.
Right. So before the gas reaches the block, sends it back and opens that bolt up?
Correct. Yeah, that'd be your lock time. So really you want to have both of those variables in unison with gas guns to keep everything functioning reliably.
Got it. So then when you move this from, like, say, a carbine length up here to a rifle length, that's got to completely change that balance.
Oh yeah, absolutely. You got to mix things up a little bit with the gas port, and that's really the variable that comes into play there.
Okay, cool. So in your left hand there, you have a big boy.
Oh yeah, this is a 308. So we have a kind of our standard contours are hybrid, and it's a mid-weight platform. We do have lighter contours, we have heavier contours, but this is generally the most popular. And this particular rifle is set up as more of a DMR SPR type build in the 308, so it's a little more configured for a prone build than you running and gunning with these PRS stock and some of this furniture.
Yeah, let me see how heavy that is.
It can get a little beefy, but I took her out whitetail hunting, and I didn't mind lugging her around for a day or two, but I imagine if we were out in the mountains, it'd be a little different story.
Yeah, we'd have to make Heath carry it for us.
Yeah, so this is, there you go. So this is actually the Midwest Industries MI-10. So that's their 308 build, and one thing a lot of people don't realize is that although Criterion has our lineup of stock model barrels that we keep in active inventory, we're also an OEM supplier for a number of different rifle manufacturers, Midwest Industries being one of them.
Gotcha. You told me a few more before we got started here that I wasn't allowed to say on camera, I was surprised. You guys are everywhere.
Yep, absolutely. The public ones, I mean, we've got American Defense Manufacturing, Midwest Industries, we have the MGS Firearms Citizen there, Terran Tactical, we work with them quite a bit as well. So we're sort of all over the place.
Awesome. Well, lots of great rifle options from Criterion Barrels. Check them out, CriterionBarrels.com.
Right on.
And on Facebook and Instagram at Criterion Barrels. It's a 3 Gun Show here at SHOT Show 2017.
Hey, before you take off, check out the show notes at 3gunshow.com/episode 126 for info on the book club and links to things we discussed in the podcast. Now, I mentioned earlier that this episode is brought to you by Armalite. Armalite likes what we're doing over here at the 3 Gun Show, and they like how connected and interactive you are as listeners. So they have chosen to support the show for 2017 season, which I'm very grateful for. And as part of that, we put our heads together to try to figure out how we could make it a win for the audience, and they have allowed me to get special pricing for you on their line of 3-gun rifles, both a 13.5 inch and 18-inch, as well as their competition handguards, gas blocks, and tunable muzzle brakes. A few people have picked up the tunable muzzle brakes already, and a couple of gas blocks as well, but I do have a couple of each left. So if you're in the market for a rifle or components to build your own, email me, dave@3gunshow.com, and I will send you pricing. Thank you so much for downloading, listening, and subscribing to the show. I'm Dave Hartman, and I'll see you on the range.
If you are finished, unload, show clear.